Avast there and batten down your hatchets. It's time for another BumbleKast. I be your Bumble Captain, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King. And joining me as always be me first mate, Kyle JCRB Krause.
Ahoy there, ye scurvy dog. How are ye on this fine eve or morn? I don't know which one it is. It could be either one. That's the great thing about pre-recorded podcasts. It doesn't matter.
Well, on the one hand, I'm a little disappointed I didn't do more piratey. I just kind of backed off. I should have done more, but so it goes. On the other hand, I'm nervous because there are people who just skip to the Q&A and they're going to miss all the very important news that we're about to cover.
Yeah, I know. It sucks for them.
I mean, we give them the option, but they don't have to take it.
It's their own fault, Ian. That's really all I can say. They have no one to blame but themselves.
And partially us, because we gave them the link. But otherwise...
Well, I mean, they could still skip by just hitting the right arrow a couple times, too. So, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess
it's fine.
Anyway, we have updated the Patreon goals, the thresholds for support, so that if we maintain a certain amount of patronage, we will do monthly live Q&A sessions, because we didn't learn our lesson last time. And we have reached that patron threshold, so we are doing another live BK next week.
That's right.
So that will be August 27th.
Yes.
At 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the YouTube channel. We've learned a little bit on how to do this because last time we just did it for funsies and we're not prepared for you guys.
Not really. No. Things kind of changed on the fly for that, and yeah.
So this time we're not coming with any questions prepared. You guys are going to supply everything. We're going to go directly to y'all in the chat. And this time, if you are a super chat, you will get priority, but we are going to be answering as many standard questions in the chat as possible. And as before, if you don't get answered during the live session, we will be recording those questions and putting them in the queue. Which brings me to our second point. That queue, it'd be a big queue.
Yeah. For both priority and standard.
Yeah. If we did just priority Q&A for the next month, we still wouldn't clear it all. So the only way to handle that is just to do more BumbleKast. So starting in September, we're going to go back to double episodes per week. We're going to be doing the patron, Ko-fi, YouTube join channel people. They're going to get their priority episode on Mondays, and then we're going to be doing nothing but standard Q&A for Wednesday episodes. If you are a patron or other form of support, you will be able to join us on the Discord for the live recordings of those all the time. Those will be done on our usual Saturday recording for our priority. And right now the plan is to do Sundays for the standard. But we have so many to do, and it's been a while since we've done this double format. We might have to adjust schedules. We'll see how it goes. But in the end, you're just going to get more content. And really, is that a bad thing?
No. More BumbleKast for your Bumble enjoyment, which is better than your regular enjoyment because it's Bumble.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
And it casts a wide net.
Get out.
Okay, this has been a great BumbleKast. We'll see you Saturday.
No, I'm kidding. I lied. I made it all up.
Now, if you miss the live show or you don't want to wait for it, then you can email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com, comment on any old YouTube video, tweet to us at BumbleKast. If you're a patron, go over into the Ask Q&A channel over on the Discord. And if you want your question answered sooner rather than later, become a patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, a supporter on Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member on this very channel.
Alrighty. Well,
also, don't forget to check out the Q&A master list over at bumbleking.com. That's going to get real big real fast. Well, it's already pretty gargantuan, but it's going to fill up even faster. Oh, Lord.
Anyway, I guess that's it, right? We're good? We're ready?
That's all the news. Let's get back to what we do best.
That's all the news that's fit to cast bumbles. Let's go ahead and get into the priority Q&A. We're going to start off with some speed weed. Not just regular weed, speed weed. Alrighty. So, with the Mega Man Fully Charged comic having ended a while back, how do you feel about trying your hand at another Mega Man comic again? Also, how would you feel about producing or even writing for a Metroid comic series? I don't know if Nintendo's mandates on Samus are as severe as most other companies' mascots or characters, but given its darker tone, would you still be interested in trying your hand at it?
With regards to Mega Man, given what we did with the Archie series, it would honestly kind of hurt to start over. I mean, I've done that before, heaven knows, but if I were asked to pick up a Mega Man book again, I think I'd want to jump to another series, like do X or do Zero or ZX or Legends, something else, not return to classic unless it was a continuation of that line. I put so much love and thought and care into that if we had to start over or not acknowledge it, it would take the fight out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd find a way to do it, sure, but it's like, I don't know, it's different than the Sonic reboot, because that was me joining a long line of contributors. You know, I was just another name on a list. There were multiple editors and artists and writers who came onto that. Mega Man, aside from like a handful of exceptions, was me. And for better or for worse, you know, some folks really dug that, some of them did not. But it's like, that was almost a bigger work than Sonic in some regards. And I don't know. Bittersweet memories. But as for Metroid, we did make an attempt in the Archie days to get a Metroid book going. And there was some speed bumps, but I think it's been a long time, and it's hard to say what end most of those were on. I remember the one pitch, which I thought was a pretty straightforward standalone, was deemed too complicated. And so the less complicated, more bare bones miniseries that I pitched was also deemed complicated. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to find a balance with writing Metroid as a comic. And we've covered this on the show in the past. But personally, I feel like a Metroid book needs to be long form, or at least kind of like a large standalone graphic novel. I think your regular 20-pager isn't going to be able to convey the mood of Metroid. And I think it needs to be a primarily visually driven story, because if you fill it up with dialogue or introspection, I feel like that really robs it of its sense of loneliness. I mean, yeah, Samus is alone with her thoughts most of the time, but in most of the games, you don't get those inner thoughts. And to me, that conveys a sense of someone who is very aware of her surroundings and is not daydreaming as she traipses about the various environments. She is someone on a mission who is focused on the dangers around her and is always kind of aware. There isn't a lot of time to just sit back and reminisce and flashback, which you do with a lot of other kind of traditional stories.
But what about the baby? What about the baby?
The baby?
The baby.
The baby.
What is this? Metroid, Death Stranding, Metal Gear, the baby. Yeah.
Look out, Snake! It's Meta Ridley. Metal Ridley. No, just Meta, no L. Well, what's the point of that? He's an esoteric space dragon? I don't understand.
Metroid doesn't make any sense. But hey, neither does Metal Gear, so it's fine.
But back to the point, yes, I would love to take a crack at a Metroid comic. It would just need the right art team, and it would need the right direction. and it would need Nintendo of Japan to play along.
Yeah, about that. might be more protective than Sega of Japan is.
Oh, absolutely.
By a large margin.
No comparison.
Yeah. Oh well. Next up, we got a question from Diane W. What would interactions between Styx and the Sonic cast and their Sonic X characterizations, as well as Chris Thorndike and everyone he knows, be like?
Well, the modern human world would be very alien to Styx. I don't think she would like it.
And she would call everybody aliens, so.
Yeah. Except when she goes hiding in the nearest back alley and finds all the trash and shiny stuff and manages to craft herself an Iron Man suit out of garbage cans. It's all based on like tension and pulley systems, and she's launching garbage at people, and she's attacking the bright-eyed, screaming metal behemoths that are running around the concrete river, but she adapts. She finds her own way.
It's a literal box of scraps.
Yeah. And eventually she'd be found by the Sonic crew and would kind of relax and get along with them. Be interesting to see what her dynamic with Amy would be, since Amy was very different then than she is now. We're in Boom.
Yeah.
She would never trust the humans at all at any point. And
I can't blame her.
Until like the very last episode when they're all going home, and that's when she finally cracks and says goodbye. Except Chris gets selfish and doesn't let Sonic go back. So Styx winds up back on their world and goes, I knew it! I knew he would betray him! I totally called
it! Oh, Styx. Yes. I love Styx. I miss her so much. Where is she? Where is she, Ian? Where is she?
She's on the shelf waiting for approvals. She's not a no. She's just a not now.
Well, it's been nearly 50 issues. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, well. Here's a question from Degama. Have you had any interesting experiences with stories about working with your editors at IDW? Any notable differences between any of the change-ups when it was Hughes and Marriott versus just Marriott with Brown as assistant versus Farmer as assistant?
I don't know if there's anything particularly noteworthy. They've all been very pleasant to work with. Joe...
You would say that.
Joe Hughes, I didn't get to work with him too terribly much, to be honest, because I believe he cycled out about the time we were wrapping up season 1, and I had already been working with David Marriott at that point, so that was a very smooth transition. But what time I did spend with Joe was nice, and we seemed to be on the same wavelength, and I wouldn't mind working with him again. David's been super cool. Megan Brown, we didn't work too closely on Sonic, and that I don't think I got a ton of direct notes from her. I know she co-edited the book, but I don't know what specifically she did. But I did work with her on some of the My Little Pony stuff, and she's been very pleasant to work with. And Riley Farmer is also just really chill and nice to work with. And I feel like I'm doing them a disservice by saying, it's nothing really notable, but that's, I guess, what's so notable about it is that it's just nice and easy to work with all of them. They give feedback and say, okay, this is working, this isn't working. We like this, but could this be done better? What do you think about changing this? Well, I was thinking about it this way. Okay, but what if we tweaked it along these lines? Yeah, okay, that's cool. There have been a few Sega notes that have come in that David has found very elegant solutions to, that I was like, that's really smart. I'm glad you thought of that, because I would not have. So it's just been a good time overall. One moment, and this is going to sound like a humble brag, and I can't help it, but I was doing a show in California. I believe it was WonderCon. And this was when the tail end of season 1 was wrapping up, and we were talking about what to do for season 2. And so we all went to dinner, and I couldn't contain myself. I just cold pitched the Metal Virus Saga to Joe and David right there. And as I'm going through it, just spinning it off the top of my head, I got to the part where Tangle has her sacrifice, because that was one of the most vivid moments in my head. And I realized that every other conversation on the table had stopped, and everyone was just listening to the story I was telling over dinner. And it's like, this is really cool. It's also really intimidating, but I can't get distracted because I'm cold pitching the next year to the editors. Focus. So I don't know. That gave me the warm and fuzzy feelings. It's like, ooh, I captured the attention of people who have no idea what I'm talking about. I must be at least compelling in my mad ramblings.
So did they like it?
No, we had to scrap it and do something else until. Yes, they liked it.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking, Gotta make sure. Here's a question from the Hobo Joe. Idris Elba as Knuckles. Thoughts? That's it. That's the question.
On the one hand, I will always be salty that the voice crew that has carried the franchise for so long isn't used or even considered. Travis Willingham, you have done excellent work as Knuckles, and you should have at least had a shot at the role. On the other hand, it's just freaking Elba, man.
Yeah. I
would listen to him read the phone book. I don't know what he's going to do with the character, but he's going to sound absolutely badass no matter what. So it's a really cool casting choice. It's just, personally, I feel like the voice cast is slighted. So I am both pleased and displeased.
This does kind of remind me of when they unified the voice casts back in the Sonic X days, where they, kind of shoved out the game cast in favor of the Sonic X cast for everything.
Yep.
I'm reminded of that a little bit. I think this is different, though, because Sega still seems to want to mostly stick with at least having dedicated voice actors that aren't the movie voice actors for their stuff, even though they are in the process of maybe recasting at least some people. But it's interesting. It's definitely a stunt casting move more than anything, but that's not necessarily a bad thing always. But I don't know. It does seem weird for a character that does have an established voice cast. It seems a little weird to swap them out like that. But well, I don't know. What can you do? It's just, it is. It's Hollywood. That's kind of the thing. Hollywood is its own thing. So you kind of don't really fight Hollywood, I guess. when they say something, that's just kind of how it goes. So next question is from Wolf's Bane. This one doesn't need to pertain to Sonic, but has there ever been an arc you proposed that was outright rejected for one reason or another? What was the arc and why was it rejected, if a reason was given? If something like that happens, do you try to salvage something from it?
Oh yeah, it definitely happens. Famously, the House of Cards arc, which was meant to be a multi-issue thing, was rejected and told to be whittled down to 2 issues. Shadowfall was flat rejected because the main antagonists, Mephiles and Black Doom, were dead, and no amount of timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly was going to excuse that. So we had to just overhaul it, and we got Eclipse out of it, which was honestly the better result. I can't think of anything with Mega Man or really into the other titles that I've worked on, but those are usually, most of the other stuff I work on is so small and focused that You don't have a lot of opportunities to pitch and get shot down. It's, here's the basic idea. Okay, the core is good. Let's tinker from there. I'm sure there's been other instances of stories that I pitched that just didn't fly, but it's been so long. I honestly don't remember them.
Must not have been that great then, huh?
Not everything I touch is gold. It's not worth committing to memory.
Here's a question from Happy Times. If you were to adapt a poorly received Sonic game into a story arc 4 to 12 issues long, to improve on it and make it more liked, what would you adapt? It can be mainline or spin-off, modern, classic, even boom. You can take creative liberties and make changes within reason.
First and foremost, I think I'd tackle Shadow's game. I would like to try to make a cohesive narrative that goes through most of the content that still reaches the end and deals with his morality and crisis of identity. I think it's possible. We wouldn't be able to hit every single stage because some of it just wouldn't make sense. But I think you could at least hit the highlights of all of it and make one solid story out of the whole thing. Or at least I'm crazy enough to try. I don't know. Other than that, nothing really stands out to me as something that really needs another pass or that I would want to touch. Like 06, I don't want to touch it at all. I mean, there's part of me that, me, I like to delve into my old lore and make sense of things, but with 06, let it rot. Let it just stay dead. Yeah. If you're going to do 06, just do something new. Start over from scratch. New origins for Blaze and Silver and rework the Iblis thing. Just don't need, it's not worth salvaging. Just do it again, but different.
Yeah. Let's not talk about 06, shall we? Let's talk about this question from Jib instead. I know he's gone, but I was just curious if Emerald is able to be mentioned in any capacity or not at all.
Maybe. Sega still isn't completely wild about us referencing old game material, and Emerald comes with a lot of explanation. So if he were to be brought up, we would need a good reason to do so. But I don't have anything immediately in mind for that. So I don't know. We'd probably just have to cross that bridge when we came to it.
Well, he's mentioned every time you say Gemerald, so. Yeah. Here's a question from Scurvy Pirate Hog. You've written for the Archie Sonic, the Sonic Universe series, and the IDW Sonic. But something that's not talked about much about is how you wrote for the Sonic X comic and the Sonic Boom comic. What was your experience writing those in comparison to the other Sonic comics?
In some ways, they were more fun. Sonic X was more challenging because we had to stick to this weird spot in the continuity. We couldn't go on to season 3, and we couldn't add anything really new to the mix. So we had to kind of do this nebulous season 2 region and just use cartoon material. There were a few exceptions to this, but they had to be very carefully crafted and approved. Otherwise, though, because we didn't have to worry about any real overarching story, because we were just kind of building on top of what the show had presented, we could tell just goofy, stupid stories if we wanted to. And those were just a ton of fun to do because it was just nonsense. The Valentine's issue, the St. Patrick's Day issue. I still remember the first time I opened up number 17, because that was the St. Patrick's issue. And the panel where Steve Butler has Eggman flying away in his giant leprechaun mecha against the rainbow, and I was in tears. It was the funniest thing. I don't care if I wrote it. That was a hilarious visual. Steve knocked it out of the freaking park. And as things got a little looser as time went on, we had more fun with it. The anniversary issue just being one gigantic laugh at recolors And then ultimately the modern versus classic fight. Didn't realize how prophetic that was going to be. And Boom was just goofy, like just straight up. It was a comedy book.
I love the Boom comic. It's
about anything could go there. So
I mean, there were how many episodes dedicated to kart, or not episodes, issues dedicated to kart racing? Like, I think a sixth of the book was a sixth of the book's run was kart racing.
Well, it didn't run very long.
No, I know. That's what I mean. It only was 12 issues, and another sixth of those was the crossover.
Yeah.
Sadly. But of course, we have the legend of the Sonic X comic is none other than El Gran Gordo.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
I remember the original pitch with that. I believe I wanted to call him El Gran Huevo, thinking just the big egg, until my editor flagged it and said, that could be misinterpreted real fast.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the slang.
Huevo has a very different term, slang term for,
Lo siento.
Yeah.
El Gran Gordo is what we went with.
Yes. El Gran Huevo. Oh, he only has one. But it's big. Yeah. You made the right call. Would have been pretty funny, though.
I'm rather glad that didn't go through. That and El Gran Gordo makes a better acronym anyway.
It's true, because, egg. Makes sense. Yeah. Here's a question from Kevin B. This is going to be an interesting one. We've had to kind of make some changes and redact a couple things with this, so bear with me, and hopefully we'll still be able to get the point across. So, a certain former Sonic comic writer recently announced and clarified that he's open to licensing his Archie characters, and I quote, "After giving the matter much thought, I've decided I'm going to make my characters available for licensing. I'm working out the details and there will be contracts involved. Stay tuned." Considering this is the big race that Archie fans have been waiting years for, does this finally open the door in seeing these characters return in some manner, such as the IDW comics? Does this mean Sega could allow IDW to bring the Freedom Fighters back as well, since they're associated with those other writers' characters? And even if they couldn't be involved in the main IDW series, what about spin-off books, since IDW has licensed out other franchises to conclude stories from other publishers? I realize that's a loaded question, but hopefully you can provide an answer to any of this.
So, let me preface all this by saying I am a freelance contractor. My views and opinions are my own. I do not represent, in any legally binding sense, IDW, Sega, or anyone else who has ever contracted me. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. This disclaimer brought to you by Panic! First off, the Freedom Fighters are not connected to this. They are cartoon characters first, and that is their primary saving grace. The issue with them is that Sega doesn't want us referencing old cartoon material. So that's no Freedom Fighters, that's no Breezy or Adventures of, that's not Sonya and Manic, that's no Sonic S cast. I know you guys are going to miss Chris Thorndike, but so it goes. No Boom, just none of that. So they are not associated with any of the Archie stuff. That's apples and oranges. The Archie stuff is derivative of that. As for the question itself, I don't think it's a question so much as if they will, but a question of would they want to? Because comics are an expensive and complicated process. And to license out something To add to a licensed book is adding more costs and another degree of production. And you run the risk of licensor A not jiving with the principal licensor being Sega. So if Sega says, okay, we would be fine with character X showing up, but they have to be changed in such a way to fit, and licensor B says, no, you have to keep it to my standards, there's an impasse there. And now we're trying to appease two different licensors to do one Sonic book, and that's not practical. And again, would it be worth the money? Let us take, for example, Elias. I'm going to bring him up because he's one of my favorites. I freaking love Elias. There's a reason why he was Agent King during the Sonic universe. Elias is my boy. Elias's function in the story was to remove Sally's obligation to the throne. Yes, he had other stories and other stuff going on, but his purpose in the book overall was just that. He was a supporting character to a supporting character. Sally existed to coincide with Sonic. She was the important one in this mix. She brought a new dynamic to Sonic. She brought a new setting for Sonic, which he didn't really have back in the early 90s. And it's her name and her kingdom and her fight that are all the important parts. She's off the table because of what I said before. The cartoons are off limits. So if you remove Sally, you're also removing her kingdom and her father and all that. So Elias becomes the prince of nothing and brother to no one. And he serves no purpose other than to just be Elias. And that isn't, in my mind, that isn't enough. Even if you take him back to like his original incarnation as this wandering, adventuring prince, which I kind of wish he had stuck to because that was the most fun, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. If you dial him back to that, the idea of an adventuring prince is fine. That's a cool idea, but we could make someone new and not have to pay a licensing fee and wait for someone to approve it and add all that extra stuff. We could just have, here's the new character, the adventuring prince. And, you know, he wouldn't be a squirrel, obviously. He wouldn't be related to Sally, obviously. But he would accomplish the same thing. If we do get the Freedom Fighters back, we don't necessarily need any of the pre-reboot stuff to come with it. You know, post-reboot, we had Sally and we had King Acorn because those were both stuff from the cartoon, and that was fine. The supporting characters don't need an extended supporting cast. And if we wanted to get let's do a fun head thing. And okay, we get the Freedom Fighters back, but it's deemed that there's just too much cool stuff going on to be contained in the Sonic book, so we get our own Freedom Fighter book. You know, let's dream big here.
Yes.
In that case, you know, Sally is the main character, obviously. Freedom Fighters are her supporting cast, and we could expand upon her family if we needed to. And we don't need to go back to what came before. We could give her a sister. We could give her 2 brothers. We could give her 5 younger brothers, and they all drive her crazy. We could give her 5 older brothers, and they all treat her like the baby, and it drives her nuts, and that's why she likes Sonic, because he lets her just be her. We could do any number of things, and it doesn't cost us anything extra, and we don't have to jump through more hoops to get things approved. So that's where I'm sitting, thinking as someone who has to create this stuff and get it approved and, you know, go through all the checks and stuff. I could be wrong. If such a scenario came up, maybe IDW would want to play ball. I can't speak for them. I don't know what their budget is. I don't know what their thinking is ultimately. It wouldn't make reprints any easier because most of the previous creators all say that they have claim. So you would be working out deals with multiple people, possibly paying multiple licensing fees and going through multiple licensing approvals. And that's going to cut into any profits that a reprint book would have. So it's certainly an avenue that is open. And you know what? If the people above me want to do business, that's none of my business. I just write the darn things. But from where I am, I don't see it making a lot of business sense. Sure, there's a lot of fan love for it, but we're talking about a series that hasn't seen print in years, catering to a very small section of the fan base, because the IDW book is now international. There are the hardcore fans around the world who have an idea of who some of these are, but as much as I love the Archie series, and being able to contribute to that tapestry was one of the biggest highlights of both my career and my life, realistically speaking, it's not that big a part of the franchise overall. So
it's not looking at, go ahead.
When looking at the characters and assets in question, you have to ask, what is their importance to Sonic today? And if you have to change a lot to make it fit, does it really justify the cost and the time spent to get access to them? I don't have an answer for that. I have my personal opinion, but that and a dime will buy you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Man, that phrase is outdated. You need like $1.50 to buy any coffee nowadays.
Well, inflation. It's a thing. But yeah, here's the thing. And I love Archie stuff and Sat AM stuff. Grew up on it. Absolutely woke up in the mornings, early Saturday mornings, to watch the freaking cartoons. It's the 7 a.m., 6 a.m., whenever it freaking was. And eventually, they kept moving it around. And, but those characters are just not as prolific elsewhere in the world. First of all, they were not nearly as well known outside of North America. So you're kind of limiting your audience. Your audience is limited there. And it's just these side characters of side characters. You could argue there might be a little bit of a sales bump by bringing them back. And it would definitely be a really nice thing for the fans, for sure. I would love to see a lot of these characters again, but realistically, I don't know. It just doesn't seem feasible right now, necessarily, in terms of people who are in positions of power making it happen. So, I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to get too far into the whole discussion on this, because you guys know about some of the recent stuff that's been going on. So I think I've made my feelings fairly clear through that, at least. But yeah, it's just it's a thing. It's kind of a mess, and I wish there were an easy solution, but it's just what we have to deal with. So let's enjoy what we have, shall we? Let's do it. And let's enjoy this next question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll follow up just with one last thought. If things come out in the wash and son of a gun, they do come back, I will happily say I was wrong. Look forward to a future BumbleKast where I just open it up with saying, welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And, we'll all be merry and a gay and a hey nanny nanny. But until that time, that's just one Bumble King's opinion.
Indeed. I hope I'm wrong too. I really do. I really, really do. So, yeah. Now we'll go down to the next question here from Invade Turbo Tunis. Hey, Bumblerinos! Ian, how was the process like working on the Encyclopedia and working with Sega on it as a whole? I can't wait to check it out, and couldn't think of anyone else to write about the legacy of the Blue Blur and everyone who's of his video game appearances other than you.
Well, thank you very much. It was exhaustive. Like, when the idea was pitched to me, I'm like, oh, sure, I know Sonic. This is going to be no problem. I can do this in my sleep. And then I'm, doing the research, doing my due diligence, making sure I cover everything. And it's like, oh, there was a lot more than I remembered. Oh, that's a lot to write up. That's a lot of badniks. it was interesting. There's one game that is not in the book because of legal reasons. Like in the initial pitch of what games we were going to cover and in what order and how we would group them, they were like, "Yeah, we can't touch this one. We can't even mention it by name."
Is it not, is it not the one we expect? Is it like some weird obscure one, more obscure one than one we might figure?
I kind of want to just say it outright, but I also kind of want people just to buy the book to find out. Let the mystery linger.
Does it rhyme with Sonic Schmonicles?
No, that one's listed.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, now I have no idea.
And there was a couple of characters that we had a lot of back and forth over their naming, because I was of the position they'd already been anglicized, and Sega Japan came back saying, no, they never had been officially. And I said, but when you translate them, they clearly are meant to be read as this in English, and back and forth and back and forth. And we came to a compromise on one, which was another potential rights issue, which surprised me. And then the other one I think got approved. But again, you'll see when that comes out, because the hardcore Sonic fans are going to get to this particular character and go, wait, that's not his name. It's like, it is now. Sorry. And there was one bit of you know what? I'm not even gonna hint at that one, because I should probably just keep my mouth shut.
Nope.
There's a lot of neat stuff in it, and maybe I'll be able to talk about it in more detail at a much later date. But for now, it was a lot of work, but Dark Horse has always been a cool publisher to work with, so just good time overall. I have seen the early proofs. It is a pretty book.
Nice. Here's a question from Scruffy Matt. So it's no secret that there have been some pretty lousy Sonic games over the years. Titles like Sonic 06 and Rise of Lyric are generally considered to be the worst of the series. However, there are some fans like myself who are apologists for 06 and will even replay it from time to time. Rise of Lyric is one of several titles that I will never play again, though. So I'm just wondering which Sonic games across its 30-year history, spin-offs included, that the two of you can safely say that you never, ever want to play again, whether it be from sheer hatred or just plain apathy toward the game.
I would pick up Rise of Lyric before 06 in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Rise of Lyric was not finished. Let's not beat around the bush here, but as tepid of a gaming experience as it was, I didn't mind it. I didn't run into nearly as many glitches as everyone else did. It was fairly stable for me, but it was playable. It was completable without too much frustration, some exceptions aside. 06 was like pulling teeth. 06 was a nightmare. It was peeling off a layer of skin that was already burned. No. I know it too was unfinished and rushed, and what it could have been remarkable, but yeah, no. To me, 06 is nigh upon unplayable.
It's funny, I haven't played either one, but I do have games that I would definitely, I have no interest in playing again. The recent ones, yeah, I mean, if you've watched me stream them, you probably know, but Sonic Rivals, I have no desire to go back to that one. Here's the thing, it's not a bad game. It's okay. It's just so utterly boring after a few times playing it, maybe. It's like once you play through it as one character, you've seen everything the game has to offer. Literally everything. So redoing it over and over again like that, it's not fun. It wasn't super great. If I was going to play a Sonic game, there are much better ones I could just spend my time with. Sorry. And then I'm really also sorry to all the Lost World fans out there. I know there are plenty of you. But I do not want to go back to Lost World ever again. Never want to play Lost World ever again. I mean, I literally deleted it on live stream. That was like, yeah, here. Yeah, let's make this ending satisfying and delete the game at the end of the stream. And stream deleting the game because I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I never have to play it again. Thankfully. that's how relieved I was at the end of that one. It was like, it's the thing is that the Sonic Lost World has the makings of what could have been a really good and fun game, but there's just so many parts of it that are just absolutely beyond frustrating, and the controls are weird. They tried to change it up again. They had something good going with Generations, with that line of Unleashed Colors Generations. They had something good going there that they could have continued building on, but they decided to instead go in another direction, and it was not good. At least in my opinion, and in my playthrough of it, I was just so fed up with it. I'm like, I don't want to play this ever again. Do not want. So yeah, yeah. And I know there's plenty of Lost World fans and apologists out there, and I'm glad you like it. I'm glad somebody likes it because I sure didn't. So, and that's the PC / Wii U version, by the way, not the 3DS version. I've not played those, so yeah, those specifically. I can't think of any like classic Sonic games I wouldn't go back to though. I don't know. I'd even play like Sonic Drift because I don't know, why not? It's quick.
You have a weakness for racing games.
Well, yeah. Sonic Drift is, I mean, it's kind of bland, but you know, it's just a little kart racer. Let's see, Sonic 3D Blast. No, I love Sonic 3D Blast, especially with the director's cut mod. Fantastic.
See, I would be inclined to play it again, and then you bring up the director's cut, and I'm like, maybe. I would play it again for that.
No, it's great. The director's cut is awesome. Definitely the ideal way to play it now. and now I'm seeing a suggestion of Spinball. I am a Spinball lover. I'm a Spinball diehard. I will go down with that giant mountain of pinballness. The mountain of pinballness that's in that game. I will go down with it. I love Spinball. It's not a great game, but I still love it anyway because I'm weird. Anyway, when are you going to adapt Spinball into the comics, Ian? Now?
It's a classic title. We'll have to wait.
You do it something inspired by it. It doesn't have to be identical. Just do something. I'm just a fan of video pinball in general, so you know, I was kind of a shoe-in for loving Sonic Spinball, despite all its flaws, and it has quite a few, but that's okay. Let's get into this question here from Noni. Hello there. I've been having a big thonk as of late. I love that word, thonk.
Go see your doctor if your thonks get too large.
A big thonk. Thonk. It's great. How exactly do you properly price writing commissions? I know it's more the longer one's been writing, but like, what the hell is the starting point?
Depends on what you're writing. If you're writing prose or if you're writing manuscripts. Prose, you usually charge per word.
Right.
And that can range anywhere from a nickel per word to $1 per word. If you can find someone who will pay you $1 per word, hit yourself to that wagon and ride. But typically for an experienced published writer, you can start negotiating for like 25 cents to 50 cents a word, see what their budget is. For manuscript writing, some of it is set by the publishing house, like Archie and IDW and Dark Horse have all had their rates in the contract. This is what we will pay. And I've never felt like I've been in the position to haggle. I'm just happy to have a job. But given my experience, I feel like I have a rate that I could pitch to other projects, and I cut that in half for indie projects, basically. And those I charge per page. And that's not per page of manuscript, that's per page of printed work. So even if the script goes for 15 pages, if it's going to be a 20-page book, I bill for 20 pages. That never works out like that. It's like a 37-page script, but I still only bill for 20 because I don't know. Spacing takes up a lot of space.
What font are you using? Write in giant font. Set the margins to non-existent. And now I'm seeing another question here. What would it cost to hire Ian to write Sonic fanfic of my OCs?
Email me at bkc.contact@yahoo.com. No. That's probably a bad idea.
I mean, honestly, as I've said multiple times, you're pretty open if it's a paid gig.
Oh yeah, I ain't snooty. I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
But actually, what rates are across the industry is a big talking point because nobody talks about it. It's all very hush hush indoors, behind closed doors type of thing.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea, now I am just one person, so don't use me as your only reference. But if I were to be approached by a larger company that was doing their licensed IP or was an established publishing house and they were open to pitching, I would start at 70 a page. And if you're an indie project and it's just you and this is your personal vision, I start at 35.
Well, there you go. So
I actually had to turn down a project recently just because they couldn't even meet 35, and it's like, I would love to help you out, but at that point the amount of time I'm putting into this is not paying out.
Right.
The time that I could be spent doing something else would be more lucrative. So I hate to do that because I know how hard it is to get a book funded and out there. It's really discouraging. But at the same time, I have to take care of myself and my family, and I can't, work for pocket change just because I feel bad about the state of the global economy.
Right. If only it were that easy. So it's interesting too. I know I've seen a lot of talk from artists who don't really know where to start as far as pricing commissions. And I think what a lot of commissioners out there have to understand is that sometimes someone's going to be out of your price range.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are willing to work for less, and that's completely up to them. And I appreciate the ones that are willing to do that, but I do not begrudge anyone for setting their prices to what some might consider unreasonable. I don't begrudge anybody for doing that, especially if they're a professional artist or writer or anything like that who has been writing or working in the industry professionally for a long time. But I really don't begrudge anybody because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort to do this stuff. And I think some people just don't realize that. So there's a Twitter account I follow that's pretty funny. It kind of pokes fun at the people who try and say, "Oh, you should do work for exposure." I think it's just called okay. It's they're at for exposure _txt on Twitter. And
I actually got featured on that one.
You did?
Yeah, it was right when the Archie book was canceled, and like within the week, somebody wanted me to write something for free.
Oh.
And they were replying to the chain of me talking about how we were all out of work. because that's what it was. I was posting a bunch of Patreon links for everyone who was now out of work.
Right. Yep.
Trying to support everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, there's a million of you guys out there, and there's only so many of us. If you don't support me, please support one of them, because this caught us off guard. Any little bit would be appreciated by any of them. Please help. Here's all these links. And I think one of the replies in there was, could you do this for free? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Since you're out of work. Now that I'm free, now that I've got time on my hands. It's like, oh.
Wow. Amazing. Incredible.
El Gran Huevo attacks.
It's very funny, but it's also very frustrating. Being someone who's even slightly in the know about how these things work and how much work and how much effort goes into creative stuff. These things aren't just magic, people. They don't just come out of nowhere. There's a lot. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough though to price this stuff, because sometimes you might shortchange yourself, and other times, you'll kind of maybe price yourself out. So you kind of have to experiment and find that balance, and kind of look at what other people similar to yourself are charging, and kind of work within that. You kind of have to do your best, but it's tough. It's tough.
Plus, reach out to other people. If there's other creators that you know of and they have a means of being contacted, say, hi there, I'm new to the business. I have no idea what to charge. What would you recommend?
Right.
And take those responses and figure out what's best for you.
Yep. All right. Next question is from Andrew D. We know that Sega doesn't like to mix the classic and modern casts in the opposing Sonic universe. But what about other things like objects, locations, etc.? For example, do you think we'll ever see modern Sonic return to West Side Island? Or perhaps we could see an item capsule instead of a monitor in the classic universe? Are there any non-character crossovers between the two that you'd like to see?
I think locations are fine. I think that's not a problem, because we can certainly use badniks from...
Well, yeah, but they've also... There's precedent for that, because they're, that's one of the things I do like about Lost World, is all the classic badnik designs. That's a great side of it, but
because they have so much more character than some of the other modern stuff. Like, sure, the 06 bots were kind of sleek and cool looking, but they don't have quite the same charm as the googly eyes.
Yeah.
I do remember getting a note that they didn't want us referencing the monitors and the item bubbles. I think that's considered too much of a game asset and not so much this is what you would see in the world type of thing. Yeah,
gameplay mechanics. I think there's a certain level of separation you have to make between game mechanic versus what actually exists. Rings are kind of like that, I feel like, too. So,
but overall, no, there isn't really a restriction on locations that I've run into yet. So there's that. The only thing that really is gated is the characters. So
interesting.
And that I'm not wholly opposed to, because it kind of helps define each incarnation. And as we've said before, it also kind of keeps the cast bloat to a minimum. Because you already look at what's going on with the classic universe, which has a pretty sizable cast if you include all the stuff that was brought back from Mania. And then if you want classic versions of all the modern stuff, just know why it's not necessary.
Yeah, there's just a few characters from classic that I would love to see come back in modern stuff, though. That's the only thing where I'm like... I get separating the cast, but there's some of these characters I'd like to see more of in modern stuff, please. Oh well. Here's a question from Off. In IDW, is there any way at any point Belle could ever go full Pinocchio on us and turn into a quote-unquote real girl? The answer is obviously yes, because it's a fantasy world where things happen according to whatever the story calls for, but I'd like to hear your take on it.
inclined to say no, just because the only real reality shifting we've seen is the Chaos Emeralds, and Chaos Control is more about moving matter from one point to another. It's not about really transforming it. It's a time-space warp, not a reality manipulation. Even the Phantom Rubies nonsense was all virtual constructs. It wasn't anything real or tangible. And the Warp Topaz got changed into also being kind of more of a warping space type of thing. So, I mean, maybe if you gather all the emeralds and draw the right hex around her and chant in the full moonlight, I don't know, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Does Belle want to dance in the pale moonlight? Here's a question from PC the Unicorn. Ian, if characters like Tangle, Whisper, Jewel, and Styx became robot masters, what kind of weapon would Mega Man get from each of them after reverting back to normal?
Tangle Woman would give you some kind of lasso whip thing, clearly.
A stretchy thingy, yes.
Whisper Woman would be totally broken because you would get all the Wisp powers at once. So you'd get like 5 weapons on the fly.
Seems like that would overload things, and it would be like, it would be kind of like, maybe you get 5 things, but there's also like a drawback to using each one.
Maybe they all have just a smaller ammo count. I don't know.
Maybe.
Jewel Woman, flight, maybe? Maybe a reflective shield of some sort.
I could see some like some cool bug wings that are like semi-translucent and
kind
of
like,
cool.
Like a very controlled flight. Styx Woman would revert him to an actual human being. There would be no technology.
Oh no. And then how does he get back? Is he just that way forever?
Well, first he has to die, and then he explodes, and then he just kind of wakes up going, "What was that?"
What? How does he explode if he's a person? If he's human?
I don't know. You're the one messing with reality, man.
I'm not messing with reality. Styx is the one messing with reality.
She's a perfectly innocent bystander. You're the one who threw into the roboticizer. How dare you?
I did no such thing. Styx Woman gives him paranoia. There we go. And Whisper Woman gives him PTSD. That's the power. All right, here's a question from Sonic. Please ask Sega how Angle Island can float when the Master Emerald has no special properties.
I did, and didn't get an answer on that. So clearly that note was wrong, and it causes Angel Island to float. That's established.
No, we're not talking about Angel Island, Ian. We're talking about Angle Island.
Don't be obtuse.
Too late. Too late.
It's not acute at all. Even if you have the right of it.
Geometry jokes. I hate math.
Yeah, but they add up over time.
Yeah. That's so divisive, though.
True.
All right. Well, here's our last priority question from Les. What would you say is the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
The single most rewarding thing has been when I've been at conventions and parents come up and say, my kid was behind in their reading ability until they picked up the book. Any book that I've worked on, but it's usually Sonic. And that's what clicked for them. And they caught up or exceeded where they should be in terms of reading comprehension. That validates my existence on this planet. If I were to just cack it right now as you're recording, there'd be no regrets because I helped kids learn to read or excel in reading. And that is amazing. Beyond that, just the sheer amount of excitement and joy I have seen from kids who read the book to young adults that I have met who grew up reading the book and make me feel very old. Or just even like the occasional thread that I'll see pop up on Twitter saying, hey, what's your favorite moment just for funsies? And everyone just has a big love fest of this was cool. It's just rewarding to know that you've entertained people that much. And that's just nice. That is good. That is pure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My wife, Jennifer, she's a teacher. And in her class library, she's got several Sonic comics. And a lot of the kids in there, like every year, it seems like there's at least a few that get real excited about Sonic. And like just absolutely go nuts and blast through the books that she's got, which is sadly very few. But it will be more soon, I hope. And yeah, that's really a pretty cool thing. So that's a little thing that I've seen of kids who just get really excited about Sonic, and they just sit there and they read the comics, and it's just really cool. All right. With that, we're going to take a little bit of a break and then jump back into the standard Q&A after these messages. And we're back with the standard Q&A. Time to jump into one here from Lazy Strawberry. Claire mentioned that she had a bad feeling about the mission and told Whisper to stay outside. But why only Whisper? Why did she never let Slinger or Smithy in on that?
Well, because Whisper was their scout. She was usually on the periphery giving them intel. And the fact that she was with everyone going in was the odd thing. So when Claire was like, I know this is what Mimic said to do, but I got a bad feeling. You just go back and do your regular job. That made sense for the team, because the rest of them are the ones that go in and get everything done point blank.
And here's a question from Jessica M. So, I'm a big supporter of female empowerment, and I cannot help but feel that even though Amy is in love with Sonic, and knowing that they will never have a relationship, don't you think there should be a moment when Amy is like, I cannot continue to pursue someone who doesn't reciprocate what I'm feeling, and just work on trying to move on and just stick to being a supportive friend to Sonic?
I would be all for some kind of concrete resolution. Either Sonic gets his head in the right place and they do commit, or Sonic stops running around and says, look, I'm not interested, move on. And she does. Or as you suggested, she realizes, I've devoted my entire career and life since Little Planet to chasing this guy. I'm tired of it. Time to move on. Anything. You could pursue any of those threads and it would work for me. I personally hesitate to pull that trigger. Not that I can, but it just makes me nervous, since I know there are some passionate Amy fans who would settle for nothing less than her getting what she wants, regardless of whether or not it's good for her. It's, she wants Sonic, she deserves Sonic. And there are those that, like you, would just say, look, it's time for her to move on. She can do better. Just tie a bow on it and get on with your life. And it's like, yeah, that works too. So I really don't want to be the one to make that decision. I will work with it. Whatever Sega hands down and says, yeah, this is what we're doing with it. Cool. I will work with that, and I will deflect all the hatred to you, because I do not want any of that on my doorstep.
But then some people will criticize you for just throwing it all at Sega. Which
people are going to complain over anything.
That's true. That's true.
You mitigate how much.
That's true too. That's true. What's also true is that we have a question from Shin Yagami. Did Sega gave, at least for you, Ian, an official answer about the canonicity of Sonic Chronicles to the game's main series?
Yes, and it is not.
Well then, how rude. Sorry, Chronicles fans. Here's a question from Tasty Cakes. They have two C's, so I assume it's Tasty Cakes. What stopped Supersonic / Silver from using Chaos Control to transport the gathered metal virus to the sun rather than the Warp Topaz? Supersonic / Shadow moved a space colony past the Earth, So it's an unfeasible move, right? I think they meant to say it's not an unfeasible move, but
yeah. Well, again, Chaos Control seems to move large thing or individual things to another location. Shadow moves through the immediate space. The arc got put back in orbit, such and such and such. Even double Chaos Control, as stupid as that is, it's moving individuals through time. The metal virus is in the victims. So if you were to just use pure Chaos Control, you would be dumping all of the Zombots into the sun, which doesn't really save them.
No, but it sounds awesome.
No!
It sounds terrible, but it also sounds kind of awesome. You're pretty impressive, at least.
So, Silver needed his own super telekinesis to draw it away, to make it a mass that could be transported. And then, wait, you know what? I see what they're asking. Because if they could move the arc into orbit, then why do they need the warp topaz to move the amassed metal virus to the sun? Aha, I get you. The thing about that is the arc was only falling into orbit from its original stable orbit. They were moving it a matter of miles, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles. I don't know for sure, but they were moving it less than a solar distance. Assuming that Sonic's world is equidistant from the sun as Earth is, that's a lot more than a few hundred or a few thousand miles. So to reasonably transport all of that stuff straight into the big old furnace, they had to use the warp topaz to give that extra boost.
Here's another question for you. Could the metal virus infect the sun?
No. Nobody's going to get a tan and get infected.
That sounds frightening, actually. The metal virus infecting the sun.
Brings a whole new meaning to Copper Tone.
A metal sun. Oh man, pretty
You've
awesome.
got quite the bronzy look going on. What are you doing? No.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. God. And then the ones that get fully transformed are just reflecting more infected sunbeams. They don't even have to touch you. They have to shine on you.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
That would feel the sunshine. It's the thing that will absolutely slay. Infect your friends and neighbors as they try to run away.
Wow.
Hide out from the sunshine. Begin to count your days. Just think about the good times and how they all went away.
Talk about praising the sun. Woo. Toasty.
I don't know why I needed to make that a lounge version of the song, but hey, it worked.
I want a real lounge version of it. Does one exist? It might. Like a truly lounge version of it? It might. I'll check.
I don't know.
I'll check.
Anybody out there who's a fan instrumentalist, contact me. We'll collab.
All right, here we go. Here's the question. Let's go on to the next question from Ellie Plays Games. Are Sonic game crossovers canon? I know you tried to fit in an All-Stars Racing and Archie once, but what about others like Sega Heroes, Angry Birds Epic, etc.? I know a lot of them are Sonic being summoned to other worlds, but does it work in canon, in your opinion?
No, just because I don't want to deal with that. The All-Star Racing tie-in was another one of those another time, another place type things. We didn't treat that as canon either.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, if we treated every single crossover... What was that one that he was just in? Was it Berserk? Or...
I don't remember, but it was something very weird.
Yeah, it was something like, why is he here? Who made this deal? I mean, it's kind of fun, but what? But no,
2 Point Hospital, Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to write it off as saying, there's a Sonic that is multiversal, and treat all the crossovers as its own collective canon, sure, that's a nice contained ball of madness. But as far as modern's concerned, no. I hope they never acknowledge that.
2 Point Hospital and Knuckles. I like it. I like it. I like it. A dude in the Sonic costume at the Tokyo Olympics is canon. Yes, that is correct. That's from the chat.
You tell me Sonic Man wasn't a true athlete?
I don't know. Was he? I don't know. I like to think they're all canon, just because it's weird. It's weird and it's fun. Why not? Just everything is canon. I mean, that's what Aaron Weber said. He's a wise man. Words to live by. Here we go. Here's a question from Ronan Seraphim. Just reading out of the blue, and is it just me, or is the voice for Night the Owl in anyone else's head Kyle JCRB? Just me? Well, I'm glad you... I'm flattered, in a sense. I suppose Night the Owl's pretty cool. He's not based on me, though, as far as I know.
I don't believe so.
No, he's based on Clint McElroy, according to Evan. And Evan is the creator. So Clint McElroy, the father of the McElroy boys of McElroy fame. But I am a night owl, so, that fits. But I appreciate that. He's more chill, though. He's like I don't know. He's definitely a more like a laid back kind of guy, He's just that cool radio voice right here on owl.fm. I can't do it. I can't do it well enough. My voice is too high-pitched.
We're listening to the BumbleKast, sponsored by NPR.
There you go. Something like that.
At the tone, it will be exactly 12 noon.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm not like that. I can't do that. I mean, I can kind of, but yeah. But I appreciate that. If anyone else, I've heard actually, there's been a couple of people who have mentioned that, and I appreciate that. It's not a direct shout out to me, but I appreciate it all the same. And it's definitely a role that I think I would play, like being in a fictional world like that. I'd like to be the radio guy. That's cool. So, you got anything you want to add, Ian?
Nope.
On that one. All right. We got one last question, and it's a bit of a doozy. It's from David BB, and they want to know, what do Sonic's feet smell like in this universe?
Chili dogs.
That was not the answer I was expecting. But it makes complete sense. File that information away and do with it what you will.
And don't tell me what that is. Ever. Even in jest. On that uplifting note, we're going to give a big thank you to the people who support this show via Patreon, Ko-fi, or YouTube membership. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Torchbound, Justin G., Mike B., Coupland Crew 128, Duis Dizdin, Diane W., Bradley TT, Andrew D., Scruffy Matt, Chris A., Sonny, John M., Salute Your Cat, Noni, Dawn B., Yami M., Dave M., Sin Fritz, Lee HK, Off, Lisa M., Chevelle, Silly String J, Frost, Piggy Bank, Blue Titled Gamer, Jib, Hero Flight 13, Justin S., Tick Tick, Fine Wheel, Digama F. Wow, Ryan D., Speedweed, Jonathan D., Rachel W., Godzilla, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Daniel B., Daddler the Dalek, PC the Unicorn, Dove, Preston M., Sonic, Red the Supernamic, Fiona M., Joe S., Flixie, Chad, Jonathan R., Bradley BD, Chase L., Renard Pixel, Creative Name, Sapphire Scarletta, Turbo, Crooker, Danny the Light, John the Real Waluigi, Lewis J., Noah S., Kevin B., Carlos, Invade Turbo Tunis, Censored, Lexi D, Corjiro Highwind, Ben W, Happy Times, and Scurvy Pirate Hog.
Thank you, everybody, for supporting us. It's very much appreciated. And before we get out of here, and actually before we slip on our chili dog shaped shoes and get on out of here, Ian, where can the people find you on the internet?
Find me on Twitter at IanFlynnBKC or my website, BumbleKing.com. That has links to the Bumble Comic Shop where you can buy autographed comics, as well as links to the BK Master List and my whole friggin' portfolio. Kyle, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at KyleJCRB, getting into trouble. You can also find me over at kngi.org. That's where you can find all the archived versions of the BumbleKast in MP3 downloadable format for your listening pleasure on all of your MP3 playing devices. And you can also listen to my other show over there, Nitro Game Injection. That one streams live on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time every week. But you can also go back and listen to all the archived episodes. If you're into video game music, particularly of the remixed, arranged, and covered variety, then check it out.
Follow the show on Twitter at BumbleKast. Email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, our YouTube channel, and kngi.org.
And don't forget to check out the Bumble Store, shop.spreadshirt.com/Bumble Store. That's where you'll find the ability to buy some Bumble gear. Like, I don't know, maybe some BumbleKast stocks to go with your chili dog shoes. I mean, something like that. Go over there and check it out. Check it out.
Kyle.
Did I say stocks? I meant socks. Anyway. What do you expect from me, Ian? You shouldn't expect much. Your expectations for me should be like below ground level, dude. I don't know, man.
That's going to wrap us up for this episode of the BumbleKast. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you Saturday for the live BK Q&A. That whole, golden-throated radio announcer thing is just a bad impression of what my dad does, because he's done a ton of radio, too.
Right.
It's just funny when he gets kind of on a tear about the way the business is run and how it used to be, and how there's no longer that golden-throated radio announcer.
Nope. Not nearly as much anymore as it used to be. Oh, well. I
remember asking what his domain name meant, and it's Ayort, AYORT. What is an Ayort? And he goes, without any practice or anything, he just goes, it stands for "and your old recapable tires." And I'm like, that still makes no sense to me. And he gave the explanation from there that I've probably forgotten, but that's just what I associate with that tone is, "and your old recapable tires." And I will never escape that. That is now ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what that means either. Recapable tires? You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org. We're gonna make a mint selling them chili dog shoes. I realize that now. It's brilliant. Our stonks are going to skyrocket. We're going to have a big thonk.
A big thonk about your stonk?
A big thonk about my stonks. With the chili dog shoes.
Rolling it all like Scrooge McDonk?
It's something like that. Scrooge McDonk.
Shamelessly stolen from the Lonely Island.
Someone saying that had to be clever. No, it didn't. A shoe freshness spray that smells like chili dogs. I like it.
Absolutely not. Why would you?
I like it. That's a great idea. This is brilliant. Man, we're missing out on a whole marketing opportunity here, Ian. Man, we could be making money hand over fist.
I have to make dinner now, and you are robbing me of any desire to consume anything remotely food-like.
Well, That's your fault. You're the one who said chili dogs.
You're the one who put the question in the queue.
I did, because it was funny.
It was, and I hopefully the response I gave gets lots of laughs.
I'm laughing. That's all that matters. I'm the important one here.
Well, I mean, you had a whole character based around you, so yeah.
I did. That's definitely Evan, like, totally making a reference to me, obviously. She doesn't even know who I am. It's fine.
Saying it's that other guy, that's just to throw people off the trail.
Yeah, yep, that's it. The other more famous, more well-known guy who actually has a history of being in radio and is like a legend in certain areas of the country. Of course, obviously. It actually was me all along. But Knight isn't a journalist, so it's fine.